Breaks through. Speaking of all-time greats, how good is he?
If you're David Mundy, you can do anything.
Brayshaw. Oh, he goose-stepped beautifully. And a couple. Herky-jerky, shake and bake. Magnificent.
Welcome back to the Flagmantle podcast. My name is Stuart Sterling, and I am in the studio with my good friend and co-host, Rielke Stu. Rielke, how are you doing today?
Mate, good morning, or should I say, nearly good afternoon. It is Sunday
it's just
as of
morning.
recording this, mate, and I'm gone bloody spectacular. It is Christmas season, around the corner, and we've...
Christmas season?
Chris, did you say Christmas season? That was
there a
unintended
heavy
pun.
emphasis on Chris?
Well, it is Christmas season because it's the draft, and that means none other than Chris, the OG, back in the studio, mate. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you guys?
Oh, doing so much better now that you're here.
Right.
You do own the WA Footy Prospects Instagram page. You've been featured on the stories of pretty much every waffle club. All the players follow you, all their brothers and sisters and friends, and
Goldfish, aunties, grandmas, you can keep going on. The
mum,
list
dad,
could...
Yeah.
brother, sister.
I'm sure a
girlfriends,
few
anything, yeah.
lazy
The dog.
scouts have used your Instagram account as a resource of some sort, and it's good to see that you've got all the knowledge of all these WA kids. Obviously, you were one of the first founding members of the Flagmantle podcast.
Let's go back. Let's go. I wish we had the audio of us
We do the
introing.
3,
3, 2, 1.
That was the OG days.
That was
Day
good
one,
content though in those days where we thought, but then we matured up. But it's been great to have back in the studio. This has been a long time coming, mate, and super happy to have you back in the studio to talk everything draft. And as I said before, it's basically Christmas season for AFL fans. We're getting brand new people into the club. There's been rumors going around everywhere about certain players coming, entering, exiting. We've just had the trade period. And, we've got to talk a little bit things, around the footy world.
Around the footy world.
Yeah, that's right. We're basically just a little quick recap of what's happened so far. And today, the highlight has been Kane Corns,
God.
absolutely slandering on the West Coast Eagles with their fixture. And speaking of the fixture has been released up to round 16. Well, actually, obviously, the full fixture has been released, but times,
all the
dates,
dates
and-
times and dates,
Round 1 to 16, that's the confirmed date. And
which
time.
is good. It'll come
compared
back.
to,
It'll come later, eh? It'll come later. So it's going to be interesting. Fremantle, we got quite a good hand for what we had, but in terms of playing teams back to back and twice in a year, apparently we've got the rough end of the stick. Apparently.
I've heard that we've got the 7th easiest fixture.
Seventh easiest.
Yeah.
So medium. So it's not.
We're middle
the
of the
world.
pack, sort of. I mean, that's Fremantle through and through, isn't it? Middle of the pack. So,
No, none of that.
Irrelevant.
irrelevant. So
Oh.
we've seen the fixtures and we've seen who we're playing. We got a big game against Collingwood on a Friday night. Lockie Schultz is going to get his head ripped off.
It's gonna be insane, mate.
Yeah, but outside of the AFL around the footy world,
Around the
ooh,
footy world.
we did actually miss asking our guests some questions.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry,
come on,
Chris.
Real Car. You jumped into that really, really quickly. So Chris, as the owner of WA Footy Prospects page, how did that all happen, and how did you get it to the point that it is now?
That's a
Right.
great question.
Thank you.
I
Oh,
think
stop it.
how I like to say it is, it was after my first year at uni. It was after the exam break. The draft was coverage was going on, but I was just really bored. And then I think a couple of people, I think it was you two, sort of told me that I have a really good grasp on just being knowledgeable in draft and stuff like that. So just might as well utilize that and then just do something with it. So I think
And you have, mate. You've done an astounding job.
2 years,
Killed it.
yeah. So I think, yeah. So I think it was the 21 draft. That's what I covered. I think their top 20 or their 20 best from WA, and then just went on from there. So I think after that, wanted to do just keep the page going rather than just being purely drafts, because I think you should probably lose a bit of
You found that niche, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's. I think it's a perfect niche for especially upcoming talent, because we can all say here as West Australians, we aren't represented as enough, especially younger kids coming through. Obviously with some exceptions, But I think you found that niche in terms of trying to put a spotlight on these young kids in WA and their draft prospects and putting them up on the big stage. I think your Instagram account has been really highlighting the talent that comes out of WA, which is next level. And I think the partnerships you do with other accounts and over East sort of rookie centrals and whatnot. I think it's a really good way to build that bridge between Eastern states and Western states in terms of making this as national as possible, because you could argue that the talent grassroots everywhere all around the country need to be united a little bit more in terms of the talent that comes through and making sure everyone gets an even spread of responsibilities and rights to get onto an AFL list and whatnot like that.
Yeah, I think that was my main philosophy starting the page. It was just to highlight the talent that's in WA, whether it be in its 18th draft year of top 20, as well as the under 16s, the under 17s, just the grassroots level, what clubs have coming through. So I think just really highlighting and just it being a great space to showcase that.
Yeah, and you've been highlighted by a bunch of different accounts. So you did a collab recently with one of the Vic, I think, draft accounts. Streams.
Stream is a WA-based account. That's where they live stream Waffle Colts,
Nice.
Waffle W.
Oh, I've heard of them.
All the
I've
other
actually heard of
sort
them.
of just sport in WA. They're the biggest live stream company. So just we got into contact with each other, just trying to just showcase some draft sort of content. So some of my player profiles, they compiled highlights packages of players like Dan Curtin, Riley Hardiman, Lance Collard, Mitch Edwards, and then they just showcase that, and then that's done very well.
I think it's done really well in terms of the collaborations, as you said, with these players, and I think it's also the mates. You got some PSA you're tapping into as well. PSA is a really big part of football in WA, and it's been going on for yonks since ever since private schools ever began. And PSA has really got that untapped potential, in terms of young teenagers, talking about with their mates at school, those were one of the best things about going to school, and you're oh, did you see Adrian or Robbo? He's on the bloody WA football prospects page because of his amazing PSA game on the weekend. You won't get that anywhere else in terms of coverage. It may be here or there, but not as an Instagram sort of level, and also the broad spectrum you do, and you do it pretty fairly with all these young and upcoming talented prospects. Which is a quick question, by the way. Any top prospects or any favorites over the past year or two of yours that you've been most keen and most eager to document about and speculate upon? Last year, the year before we got Logan McDonald. Or the year before that, Van Ruin. Any favourites from yours?
I think Dan Curtin was one that I sort of noticed in his 16th year, because
WA
had sort of an intra-club between their under 19s and under 17s back in 2021. So that around that COVID years. And then the 17s got smashed in that game, but Dan Curtin was one of those names that I remember. And then also...
Remember Dan Curtin, boys?
Yeah, him and Riley Hardiman and Colin Tholstrup, they made that 17s team as those underage. So they've been in that WA sort of development system for a long, long time. So to see them get their names called out on tomorrow night, that's pretty special.
Speaking of which, Tholstrup, actually just we're going to talk a little bit quickly about the AFL Draft Phantom Top 30 that just came out. Boo.
Second best mock draft behind the one we're about to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But apparently Tholstrup was pick 13. He bolted up the draft, apparently. Why do you think that? Do you think, he's got attributes, but I never thought he'd go that high as a casual AFL fan. Obviously diehard Freo supporter. I want to know a little bit more about Tholstrup because we were linked to him, but now he's all the way up at the top of the, early teens pretty much.
Yeah, I think before the trade period, I think he was linked to be sort of a very late first round, early second. So when Freo had pick 21 before they traded to Port Adelaide, he was probably someone you could probably take it if he managed to slide out of the first round, but then
no chance now.
No
chance now. But yeah, in terms of content that's coming up, we've got don't go away here on the Flagmantle podcast. We've got upcoming questions from you guys, what you sent in, and we've also got a Phantom draft which we're going to be addressing, which Stewie, you
Mhm.
can have the privilege of announcing.
Yeah, so me and Chris, we're gonna do a Cal Toomey, Kevin Sheehan style Phantom Draft shifter. Yeah, that's the sound we like to hear. We played a game at Gridley before the show, and I won that one, so I get pick one. Lucky me. And we're just gonna alternate. When a bid comes, the person who's not picking gets to match it, and so forth. And we're doing the top 30. Obviously no Fremantle, but we'll get to Fremantle at the end. This is just to sort of, I don't know, just draft content. It's good
Just fun,
content.
yeah.
It's a bit of fun.
A little bit of fun.
Creates a bit of talking. And we'll probably post the results in writing at some stage after the podcast. So, Rielke, do you want to play the intro music to the draft? That's the one right there.
Aha!
Oh,
It's the
right.
NFL draft, but you know what I mean.
Close
like-
enough.
It's close enough. All right, so I'm gonna start on the clock here.
Okay,
I
you're
am
starting
West
on the
Coast with pick one.
Nice.
There's a few options I could take here. This is gonna be a pretty close pick, I think. Yeah, so many options for pick. Now I'm going with Harley Reid. Undoubtedly the best player in this crop. And I think, well, he's going to form a good midfield with Jimby and Hewitt for the next decade or so, and I like the pick.
Too much regret they're going to do an outstanding job with picking him as a player.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, want to go next?
Yeah,
So I've got pick 2. That's North Melbourne. So what am I going to do?
What are you
I
gonna
bid
do,
on
mate?
Jed Walter? Do I take one of them?
oh, it's up
I
to
think
you.
you got to. I think you
It's up
got to
to you,
bid.
mate.
I think you got to bid on him. He's a good player.
Does he?
Jed Walters. Yeah.
Or do they take their guy?
They take their guy in McKercher. It's up to you.
Let's put a bid on Jed Walter.
Oh, okay.
It's getting
What you do.
spicy.
All
Making
right, so
Gold-
I'm
Gold
going to
Coast
match
pay.
that, and so you're back on the
Yeah,
clock.
Back on the clock. So got my draft board in front of me. Just a
Yep.
list of potential names at every pick. So I think I've got McKercher in front of me, Zane Dersma, and
Mhm.
Dan Curtin.
Mm.
I'll go with the midfielder from Tassie,
Nice.
Colby McKercher.
Nice.
Very, very talented midfielder.
Mm.
Speed, explosiveness,
Very
exactly
good
what
ball
you want.
user.
One of the best talents of Tasmania's produced in maybe a
long,
couple
long
of
time.
years, in
Yeah,
a few years, but
last one, yeah.
in fact, and he could
Mhm.
be one to look out forward to in the future. I'm actually going to go off with pick number 4 now. I want to take over Chris's little pick 4. Is this what we're doing, like in terms of just like going after pick after pick?
Yeah,
just
yeah.
alternating.
Oh,
So
alternating, easy. So pick 4, we all think it's either it's
so on
a
the
close
clock for
one.
pick 4.
We're on the clock for pick
I'm
4.
between Dersma and Curtin.
Yeah, same. Like North Melbourne have done their homework on Curtin. They've,
Oh,
Alistair
Nick
Clarkson.
Watson's in the mix. Riley Sanders in the mix. I've heard Ethan Reed could get a very early bid.
That'll be a bolter
Um,
sort of little pick there. But I think Alistair Clarkson's done his homework on Curtin.
yeah, 'cause
Going to the
he went to
under
the
18s.
Colts grand final
I'm-
that weekend, and then sort of he flew again back to WA just to meet with Curtin and his family.
You
So
know-
I think
I'm actually going to
You-
take Zane Dersma.
You're gonna go Zane.
Okay, cool.
You're gonna go Zane Dersma.
Yeah,
You're the one picking this pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's Chris me, Chris me, Chris
Alternating.
me.
I'm just joking.
Come on, real quick. You get
Who you going with?
Zane
Dersma.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's the next best player in this crop.
Great mark as well.
I like him to Isaac Heaney, and North Melbourne just need a bit of scoreboard presence. So I think Zane Dersma for the long haul is going to be a good selection. Chris back on the clock with Hawthorn at pick 5.
Okay, so with McKercher and Dersma off the board, it's a coin flip between Nick Watson and Dan Curtin.
Honestly, yeah. WA born kids and Hawthorn. I swear there's like a little thing that Hawks love to pick some WA talent, especially after the
You got Granger Barras.
they got
Yeah.
Granger Barras. So
I met him at the court once.
He's a good bloke.
Yeah.
Unlucky with
he's a good
injury at the
bloke.
moment, but do you think the Hawks need that tall depth, or do you think they're too tall at the moment? Because their midfield is actually quite tall, and apparently they need to. That's what they were explaining in the off season, that they need some smaller nugget sort of midfielders. So do you think they?
More pace?
Do you think they need more pace? Because pace is probably one of the weaknesses of Dan Curtin, in terms of like his obviously explosiveness, his ball winning ability. And his efficiency is pretty good, but out of like the weaknesses, I saw there was something on Rookie Central about like how his tank, he's got a good tank, but
Yeah.
he just needs to work on his explosiveness.
Yeah.
The fitness will come. Fitness will come. But who do you think?
Pick 5.
Pick 5, Hawks.
I think with Curtin, he'll probably start off playing as a defender, and then Hawthorn have father-son, Will McKay, but he also is a defender. So would Hawthorn do both, like take Curtin as well as McCabe,
Mm.
or they go small with Watson, who probably would replace like Luke Bruce in the next 2 years as that really dynamic.
Yeah, I like that
Goal
Watson.
kicker.
I've heard that Watson.
Nick Watson.
Nick Watson, locking him in.
Lock him in.
Easy.
Okay, done.
Nick Watson's in. Small forward to the Hawthorn Hawks.
Ooh.
Now we've got Bulldogs here on the clock with pick
Ooh.
number 6.
So it's my turn. This is where the draft starts to get really tall. The next few picks, in terms of talent, are probably
Some of the tallest
all
talent in
tall
a small
guys.
little period of the draft.
yeah.
You got Ethan Reed. You got Nate Caddy, who's a utility. You've
Dan
got
Curtin,
Dan Curtin.
O'Sullivan.
Sullivan's really
Croft.
tall. Wow.
So this is the pick to get ahead of the Croft bid. So they're not
Yeah.
going to want another tall. They already have about $1 billion.
Yeah.
Riley Sanders is probably the next cab of the rank in terms of pure talent. Ooh,
I think they do
yeah,
inject
I,
that midfield.
I
the
don't see
Bulldogs
anyone
midfield.
else being picked over Riley Sanders here.
Best talent at that pick.
I think the Bulldogs add another midfield. I know they've had a lot recently, but
They need someone to defend and
They-
defend
I think
in
they
their
need
midfield.
more midfield
Yeah, because they've
depth.
gone tall in the last 3 years because
Yeah.
they had Bustlinger last year as a key back,
Mm.
Sam Darcy as a utility, and Hugo Hagen.
And they brought in
That's
Lob, and
Lovely.
they've signed Norton to an extension, and Liam Jones has come back into the club.
Too sweet.
Yeah.
So Riley Sanders, pick number 6 off to the Western Bulldogs. Melbourne with pick number 7 is on the clock
Chris,
now.
you have a decision to make here.
Yeah. So this is the one in the last 48 hours is going to shape the rest of the fandom draft.
I think so, eh?
Last week you would have said Dan Curtin would be in this range.
If they get Dan Curtin with our original pick that we gave away for Luke Jackson, and he turns out to be a superstar,
That'd be such
I'll
a turn
cry.
of events.
I'll
But-
cry.
But there's something at play here, Chris.
Possibly. Because I think this prospect has sort of risen up into the top 10 and even top 7. And that's Caleb Windsor from the Eastern
Ooh.
Rangers. He's a wingman,
Uh-huh.
very good ball user, very classy.
Mm-hmm.
Melbourne really like that.
Yeah.
So I think if Melbourne take Windsor,
Going
something
with
is
Windsor.
brewing.
Windsor?
Yeah.
You're
Go
not,
with that
Windsor.
You're not gonna-
speed, goal kicking
not going to
ability.
trade the pick?
Nice midfielder.
No.
We're locking
Caleb
in
Windsor.
Caleb Windsor for pick number 9.
7.
Oh, 7. Sorry, my bad. I'm looking at the wrong sheet. But yeah, pick number 7, Caleb Windsor, off to the Melbourne D's. And now GWS back on the clock. And Stewie, you've got, GWS. So you've
West
got a
Coast are
time.
calling my phone. They want a big slice of Dan Curtin pie. And GWS, when's their next pick? They've got pick 8.
17.
They've got pick 17. The talent drops off. James Leake would be a great addition to the Giants, another rebounding defender
Yeah, good
that can
inside
really
marker.
kick the ball, intercept it. Could be a good Haynes replacement, but they could also get another first-round pick for next year, and it could be the first overall
It
pick.
could be pick 1 next year,
It
2024.
could be pick 1, and GWS, they already have another first. They just made a prelim. Do they need another? Oh, I'm going to trade the pick. West Coast are getting pick 8 for a future first round pick, and they're taking WA boy Daniel Curtin.
Daniel Curtin.
So Dan Curtin's off the board. It says GWS on my phone, but it's West Coast.
West Coast it is. So West Coast pick Dan Curtin. They get their man. And yeah, that's a great win for West Coast. They've now got the best midfielder, arguably the 2 best midfielders in the draft, arguably.
I think McKercher's the best mid.
Yeah.
Oh, your pure mid,
Yeah.
obviously.
You got the
but
best
like,
player in the draft in Harley Reid, and you got the best tall.
WA boy.
best
the
utility
best WA boy.
sort
Yeah.
of tall, which is really good. So
That's
now
a great result.
Geelong now have pick number 9, and Chris, it's back to you, mate. Geelong are on the clock.
So on my board, Riley Sanders is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Curtin's off the board. So
Yep.
there's Nate Caddy
Oh, I like Nate
as
Caddy.
a power forward.
Yeah.
And Connor O'Sullivan as a key
Swingman.
back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Nate Caddy.
Night Caddy, nice utility.
I love Nate Caddy. He would-
nephew to
Josh Caddy.
Josh
that's
Caddy.
his,
Who also played at Geelong?
Caddy. Josh is Nate's uncle.
There you go.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
there you go. Something
Yeah.
you don't know every day, but
Also
basically,
ex-Geelong.
Nate Caddy is a great upcoming player. Utility, obviously, he can play pretty much anywhere.
Mm.
He's a wild card for any potential suitor.
Well, they lost Radaglia, and Tom Hawkins is closing in
Yeah.
on the end of his career. I think that's a good pick.
Absolutely, mate. Essendon number 10 here. Pick number 10 on the clock.
Yep.
Stuart, make it quick. Let's go.
Yeah, so Essendon pick 10. They've just brought in Goldie, and Draper's still pretty young. Goldstein doesn't have very long left, and I think Ethan Reid is probably, personally, is probably a top 6 talent in this draft, but
Yep.
just because of the bid thing, he's going to slide a bit.
100%.
And I think Essendon are going to bid on Ethan Reid here, and of course the Suns will match that.
Matched.
Um,
So now pick 11 back on the clock, Essendon.
Pick 11. Before getting Ben Mackay, I would have gone with a key back here. But I think Essendon are... Their midfield is very, very stagnant, I think.
They need to
Darcy
definitely
Parish,
strengthen that midfield.
Zach
'cause I think
Merritt. It's-
all their midfielders are sort of like the same.
It's
so I think they
one-dimensional.
need someone a bit different, like a point of difference.
Yeah, point of difference. They've got, your Shield. You've got your... who else is there? Who's
Parish, Setterfield.
Oh, it's just
McGrath,
boring. Stringer.
McGrath.
Well, he
Yeah.
plays defense now,
Yeah.
but so for me, it's between two. It's between Darcy Wilson and James Leake. James Leake, I think, has the potential to play midfield later in his career, but I think more for what Essendon are going for. I think Darcy Wilson is probably the pick here. That's probably a little bit higher than he's going to go in draft night. What you think?
I thought he would be around maybe
20, around there.
no, actually
Really?
around Essendon to Melbourne's pick, so maybe between
So it's gone
11 to 13.
gone higher
Yeah,
than what he
he's-
thought.
He's sort of slipped into that 17 range, which
Nice.
I've noticed in like the other
Yeah.
fandom drafts.
Nice. So Darcy Wilson is picked up by the Essendon Bombers. Now pick 12, Adelaide Crows are on the clock. Who do they pick?
Okay, so I've got James Leake. I've got Connor O'Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Adelaide, they lost Fisher Mackesy as a key back that drafted a couple years ago. He retired. Tom Duday's left. So I don't know.
Need a defender.
They need a key back. So
They need to defend. That's a good weakness, or the weakness of their side at the moment. You'd think they've had a bit of trouble recently, Adelaide Crows, in terms of top drafty talent. Leaving or just becoming duds on the team. No offense to any of those players, but they need to draft this one right. And I think if they pick this one perfectly, you guys, who do you think Adelaide Crows select?
12?
They have to pick a nice pick at pick number 12.
Connor O'Sullivan.
Connor O'Sullivan, nice little key
Murray
back.
Bush Rangers, yeah.
Lovely. So now Melbourne are back on the clock.
Ooh.
Pick 13. Who do they pick with this one? Do they either go with a talent or do they bid on one of Gold Coast's many players?
So they've just gone and got Caleb Windsor, who's that nice pace through the midfield. Bit of a different look for the Demons. Tholstrup is probably where he starts to get involved. Jordan Croft is still there to be bid on, so is Jake Rogers. But there's just a guy that has probably slid a few picks that I really like off halfback, intercepting,
Nice.
running defender that can probably push into the midfield later in his
Nice.
career. I think
James
James
Leake.
Leake goes
Ooh,
here.
Very nice.
And so you're back on the clock.
Back on the
with pick
clock,
14.
Sydney.
Okay.
Sydney 14 now. Let's who does Sydney pick with this one or bid on?
Bidney would place a bid on Jake Rogers.
They always love to do this, especially late in the first round, don't they? Sydney
Coast
Swans
match
over the past
that.
couple of years. So who do they bid on again? Sorry.
Jordan Croft from the Western Bulldogs.
Nice, Jordan Croft, Western Bulldogs. So
So they've double bid.
Yep, they've double bid. They'll
They've
do it
bid
again.
Rogers then Croft.
Okay, now that
You could still bid here.
Cool.
You could triple bid.
Nah, I think okay. So
that would be insane on draft night. The amount
Triple
of talent that
Well, Sydney bid last year, didn't they? Bid twice in a row
yeah,
and
it
then
was-
trade the
it was
pick,
Harry Ralston
Yeah.
from GWS's academy, and then Max Michelini from Adelaide,
and then
and then,
Hawthorn got
and then
the
they
pick
traded that pick.
for Weddle.
So we're on pick 15, right? Pick
Yeah.
15. Sydney.
It's 16 now because it went Rogers, Croft, and then
Yeah.
Nice.
Sydney are back up.
Okay, lovely. So now at pick 16, Sydney. Who do they go?
Ooh. Colin Tholstrup.
Colton Tholstrup. Nice. Little bit of a. You could argue
That's such a
he's gone
Sydney
up the
pick.
little bit of a draft. Draft
Bolter.
bolter. Tholstrup. WA boy. So it's great to see him. Make his way over to the Sydney Swans, and Sydney have had their eye on a few WA talents over the past few years, and they've done
Very
pretty
much,
good
Yeah.
recruiting. Sheldrick, not to just to mention.
Sheldrick, Warner.
a few others. The Warners, McDonald's. Yeah, they've been poaching a few WA talents, and I think that's a really, really good pick. He's a very talented player, and I think he'll be great for the Sydney Swans. Now into
St Kilda.
the St Kilda with a pick 17. They're on the clock. Who's gone? Who do they pick? Who do they need?
St Kilda are pretty much set for tolls, both up front and down back.
Do they need a runner? Do they need a defender? That's a really nice bloke. Who's actually been on this podcast before.
Do we do it? Do we pull the trigger?
With the loss of, a couple of halfbackers over the past few years.
Well, they've just got Henry. They've still got Sinclair. But I think
Henry, I think they want to be winger and forward, which I think is what they pulled him over for. But I think if they want to fill a plug and, Hardman can move up and play in the midfield, I think that'll be a very nice pick from the St Kildas.
I'm going to have to go with Harry DiMarcia.
Harry DiMarcia.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So it's a ball up
explosive
forward.
mid. Can break lines, break stoppages open,
Kick goals.
X factor player.
Saints need that, don't they?
Yeah,
Saints need
I think so.
Dan Butler 2.0.
They're another team that their midfield is just a bit one-dimensional and it's a bit boring and it's a bit slow. So getting DiMarcia in is gonna tick all the boxes for the Saints.
Nice.
Chris.
Pick 18 now. Adelaide Crows. Who do they pick?
Charlie Edwards from Vic Metro.
Wow, bolter. So he's been a late bolter this season. Had a bit of a quiet early start to the year, but just over the past couple of months, he's actually gone through the roof. A beautiful hands with the football player.
Chris is the expert. Let him speak in his pick.
Oh, sorry, but yeah, he's a great
just
player.
Add more to Adelaide's midfield, just a bit more height, a bit more X factor. So, yeah.
100%.
Oh,
good pick.
That's a nice pick. Pick 19, North Melbourne.
North are on the clock, and I can't believe this guy slid past Adelaide twice. He is a South Australia boy. Father-son prospect. I am bidding on Will McCabe.
Whoa.
Hawthorn are, of course, going to match that. I just think North Melbourne are in the market for another key defender. Obviously, no Logue next year, no Mackay next year. They've got Toby Pink, but we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
So instead of Will McCabe, I'm going to be taking Ollie Murphy with pick 20.
Ollie Murphy, pick 20,
Good
North
pick.
Melbourne. Now back to Chris with the GWS Giants with pick number 21. Who do they go? They're on the clock now, mate.
Riley Hardiman.
Riley Hardman, nice. So another poaching another WA boy. Last year, GWS did the same with
Darcy Jones.
Yeah.
So I hope he's gone. I actually haven't heard him too much.
Yeah,
but
he did his ACL early last year, and I think
Really?
he's back.
Yeah. He hasn't played
so
yet.
he hasn't played a game yet. But Riley Hardman, that's an outstanding pick. And obviously big fanboy of him coming on the podcast. Riley Hardman, great pick from GWS. Now 22, North Melbourne have another plethora of picks. They've got back-to-back picks here. Pick 22, North Melbourne. Who do they pick to?
This is where things could literally go anywhere, I think.
This is getting pretty hazy in the draft now.
I'm a believer that the first 20 picks are sort of roughly, that group are roughly the same. After about 20,
It drops off a echelon.
it's not that it drops off. It's just that there's so many in the same
you can,
range.
sort of play around and see who's there left.
You could have a player picked in the late 30s who could arguably be as good as someone in the early 20s.
I am going to.
Who did North Melbourne get? Who do they need?
Well, they've just drafted a mid and a mid forward. I
And
think
a back,
and a-
Riley Murphy.
and a back. I think we go tall forward here. I'm going to be taking Archer Reed.
Ooh.
Nice. I really rate that. So they've got their midfielders. They've locked in Archer Reed, which is the younger brother to
Zach Reed from
Zach Reed
Essendon.
from Essendon. So North Melbourne have secured the brother, and I think he's going to be a nice player.
I think
23.
just getting a nice mix in this draft is
Yeah.
key for North Melbourne.
Yeah, I think they're setting for the future. This draft will set them up. Number 23, North Melbourne have back-to-back picks.
That's
Who do the
Chris.
pick.
Or- It's a hard one.
There's a few guys that could
Yeah.
go
So
here.
they've gone tall, and they've also gone with their midfielders. So who do they need? Do they go with a small forward? Do they need to replace a couple? Phoenix Spicer who just left. There's that could be a spot that North Melbourne could be looking to fill in. Chris, who do you think?
I think they might take a ruckman.
Ruckman. Do you think
Ooh.
they'll actually? Do you think
I
they'll
think
go for
'cause
the?
Goldstein left.
Oh, that's a smart
Jerry
idea.
hasn't Has he come on? Like really?
He's serviceable. He's a passable
Yeah.
ruckman.
So you got two of the best ruckmen. I'll give a quick little rundown. Will Green and Mitch Edwards, arguably the two
And
best ruckmen.
Taylor Goad, I
Yeah.
think, is probably ahead of Mitch Edwards at this point.
Yeah.
But those
Green
are the
is
three.
The best one, and I'm taking him
Green.
with North Melbourne's pick.
Will Green off to the North Melbourne Kangaroos. They've actually picked a number of players now. That's 5 players for North Melbourne. They've got their ruckman, they've got their defender, they've got their midfielders. Now, Collingwood, pick 24.
I've got 3 in the mix here. They are the reigning premiers. They've come off a year where
This is like a little bit of a...
everything fell their way.
This is a cruisy pick. They can pick here to their heart's delight, I think. Do you think they will replace with a Bobby Hill sort of thing?
I'll get to that when I get to
Sorry,
that.
mate. I'm excited because there's a player I'm looking at right now who could easily be
know.
off the draft.
I know exactly who you're looking at. My first thought was, can I bid on Caden Cleary? And then I go, probably too early for Caden Cleary and probably not the type that Collingwood need now. My next train of thought was, do they need another key forward? And is it too early for Logan Morris? He towed up Ollie Murphy earlier in the year. He kicked a bag on Ollie Murphy, so he could be a good option here. But I think I'm going to go with the ready-made midfielder. He's a Vic country boy, big, ready to play. They lost Taylor Adams. They're going to lose Pendlebury and Mitchell soon. I think the correct option here for Collingwood is George Stevens.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh, I called it. George Stevens. Nice pick there by Collingwood. They get their Taylor Adams replacement. Now, pick 25, Adelaide are on the clock. Chris.
Taylor Goad,
Taylor Goad.
the homeboy, the ruckman from South Adelaide. What
Nice.
was his-
206 centimetres, this fella.
He's a big boy.
He's
He's a
big boy,
huge boy.
Very athletic. I think he's actually sort of bolted up again. As
Second
well.
best ruckman in the group.
Probably, yeah. I think just because of
Behind
his
Green?
athleticism, because he was probably maybe a month ago, maybe 3rd, 4th round, but I think now he's
He's
Like
moved
first.
up. He's moved up, and especially with the height, you don't get many players like that nowadays. So you're locked in Taylor Goad for Adelaide Crows, pick
Yep.
25. Nice. Now, Stewie, St Kilda again to pick 26. You're on the clock.
I'm in two minds about this one once again. I am going to have to take 2 GF
Oh, nice.
off halfback
Brother.
for the Saints. I think his explosiveness
Is that
of
bro-
halfback.
Is that brother of
Chunka GF.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
his younger
Yep.
brother.
And I've heard of he's moved up the draft rankings, hasn't he, over the past few months?
He has. He's very athletic. I think he could develop into more of an interceptor than he is now. He'll probably start by playing a bit of a lockdown role, but I like the upside of Jeff.
Wow. Now, pick 27, Carlton. Let's go, Chris. Nearly to pick 30 where we'll stop.
Yeah.
And we'll start talking about Freo and West Coast respectively, questions, and then wrap up. So pick 27, Carlton.
They're going to take it forward.
Nice.
Probably the guy was early this year the second best, but sort of fell away through like various reasons. Ashton Moyer.
Nice. Ashton Moore. So he was linked to a few South Australian clubs. This is technically a slide for him. He was, expected to go,
Very high. Yeah.
very high, maybe 15 to 20. And I think that's a really nice pick there by Carlton. Thank you, Chris.
West Coast on the clock with pick 29. This is a very simple pick. Their NGA prospect, Lance Collard.
Nice. They'd be stupid to not pick him up because Fremantle are lurking a few picks back, 5 to 6 picks back. And I think they're really keen. If Lance Collard is back and still available when Fremantle have their first pick, I think Fremantle would easily pick Lance Collard. And I think that's a really nice pick there, Stewie. Pick 28, Lance Collard off to the West Coast Eagles. A nice...
29 is the Cats.
Yes.
Yep. They're going to probably beef up their midfielders to sort of aging. So I think probably maybe a little bit of a reach, but Cooper Simpson, Dandenong Stingrays.
Oh, I like it.
Cooper
I like the pick. Tell us a little bit about Cooper Simpson. He's a bit of a quiet one.
I
in
think-
this
Fremantle have
draft.
been linked to him, actually. Just
Yeah.
after today, there was an article on the AFL. Cooper Simpson's been linked to Fremantle. Please tell us a little bit
I
about
think
him.
he's definitely more of an underrated prospect, not talked about in the media as often as all the others, but I think just a smoky. I think you probably... I haven't seen too much of him, just not watching much talent league, but I think...
Is he in Giants Academy?
No.
No.
Where's he from?
Dandenong Stingrays.
Dandenong Stingrays. Oh yeah, I
Oh.
read a little small bit about him. How apparently he he didn't captain, but he sided along with one of the players who's getting drafted. Far out. I've just completely just gone off the rails. There's a player from Dandenong Stingrays who's going to get drafted this year, and is good mates with Cooper Simpson, and they played together. So that could help him potentially get drafted. If not,
We'll see.
it's all right. But we've got pick 30, last pick. We're going to go with Carlton now. So it's Carlton with pick 30. Who they pick?
Carlton, I think they need to shore up their key defensive stocks. Jacob Wiedering is pretty good down there. And
If not, do you think they need to replace their ruckman? Do you think Pitnet is
no,
getting
because
old?
they've got DeConing as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about ruck depth just yet. So that has me down to Schoenmaker or
Will Dawson.
Zakostelski, who could both be bolters. I think the most talented player left in the pool is probably Schoenmaker, and I think he's going to fall because of what happened earlier this year with
Nice.
the drinking ban for 10 weeks, I think it was. So,
Wow.
But I
Yeah.
think Carlton losing, who did they lose? Was it Marchbank or Plowman? They're pretty much the same guy to me.
Yeah.
They're both crap.
Do we still go until
get
pick
quality.
35? Freemantle's first pick?
Should we just go until
Yeah,
Freo's first
screw
pick?
it. Okay, 31. All right,
All
we've
right.
got 5 more picks.
We're on the fly now, Chris.
Yeah,
No more
alright.
notes.
This is
Okay.
no more notes. This is
What's
Richmond, pick 31. You're on the clock.
There you go.
They've got Archer Roberts. They've got Mitch Edwards and Jack Deline, Angus Hasty, and Logan Morris is the nice forward who Fremantle will link to. So I hope he's left there when Fremantle have a pick. So please leave him.
Sorry,
Please leave
for
him.
Freo fans. We're gonna
Oh,
take Mitch Edwards as a ruck.
there you go.
Toby Nankervis.
Nice.
That was going to
number one.
happen.
And Ivan Soto as well.
Oh yeah. He's
There
gone.
you go.
He's gone
Nice.
Port
Pick
Adelaide.
32, Brisbane Lions. Who'd they go?
Brisbane Lions. I don't really know what they need the Lions. They just lost
They're
Jack
perfect at the
Gunston, but they
moment.
replaced him with was that Sarong went back
No,
up there or
it was one
This
of
is-
the
It's Luke Ryan's cousin.
oh Jacob Ryan.
yes,
that's the one.
Jacob Ryan. So
Yeah.
nice little pick there. But who do they?
Brandon Ryan. That's his name.
Do they-
Brandon Ryan.
Do they go
Brandon Ryan.
forward? Do they go forward for this Brisbane Lions?
I think they
need a forward.
do.
Yeah.
I think it's oh, this is so hard. I'm gonna have to go with
Well, they can go with the mid. Do they think they need to add their mids? You know,
Phoenix
Hull Clay,
Gothard.
Clay Holes
Ooh.
on. Ooh,
I'm taking small forward Phoenix Gothard. I love their forward line already, but just add more. Why not? You know, keep going.
nice.
Keep
Now,
adding.
nearly there. Pick 33,
Essendon.
Essendon. Who they go with?
Who is left on that board?
What do Essen need? They've already added a bit of midfield X factor. They've got their tall backs set up. Their forward line might need another key forward. Probably some more smalls as well. Tipper, Snelling are all gone. They've replaced them with some youngsters, but
I'm gonna go with a tall.
Yeah.
Logan Morris.
Logan
good pick.
Morris. Wow, you silly son of a gun, I tell you. Collingwood pick number 34. Just before Fremantle's pick. 2 more picks left, guys. Collingwood now. Who
So
do they pick on their clock?
we've already picked George Stevens, who's a big ready-to-play inside mid.
Do you think they, add up their defensive stocks? After?
I think so.
Probably.
I think we add to our running defender stocks, and I think we go Angus Hasty here.
Nice. I like that. Now, the one we've
last
been
pick.
waiting for. Pick 35, Fremantle Dockers. They're in the draft now.
Finally.
Who do they pick? Who's left on the board that they can pick up? You could argue
Oh,
it's
I know
best
where
talented.
he's going.
You think it could be best talented.
I know exactly where he's going.
We've got a
with
WA
this.
few boys. We've got Colin Sanchez. We've got Clay Hole on the board. We've got Jack Deline
There's
as well.
to be no bias in this pick at all, Chris.
There has to be no bias.
No,
Chris.
I'm putting my East Freo hat on. We're taking Colin Sanchez.
Oh,
That's an actual list, Nate. As a small forward, we've lost Lockie Schultz. Very devastating. So I think
And Liam Henry too,
Liam
who
Henry, yes.
could
That
play
That's
that
pretty
role.
good. Colin Sanchez and Fremantle colours.
Yeah.
He's dangerous. And the best part about him is his consistency.
Yeah,
he
I mean,
loves to be consistent on
he's
the
a goal
scoreboard.
He's a goal
Yep.
threat. I think he kicked 6 goals in the 4 champs games. Always a presence.
He's got a
on
good
the-
attitude as well.
He's a very good attitude.
Very nice
He's a hard
attitude.
worker.
Too sweet. So that pretty much wraps up
Plays the game the right way.
I love that. I love it. No biasy there, but we've got to make this quick. We've got questions coming up very soon. But Fremantle, who do they pick? What's West Coast? Obviously, we've gone through West Coast, mainly what they're needing. They've done a good job there, getting their best midfielder. You're going to get Dan Curtin. They're going to get Lance Collard.
Lance
You've
Collard, yeah.
arguably got some of the best talent in the draft right there. West Coast have done a really good job there. Who do you think the overall winners are of the draft there? You got North Melbourne with at least 5 to 6 picks there.
Just look at the first round because that's where it's won or lost.
So as expected, Reed goes 1, Walter 2, McKercher, Dersma, Watson, Sanders, Caleb Windsor, Dan Curtin to the Eagles,
Could argue us. You could
Caddy
say.
to Geelong, Ethan Reed.
The Eagles have to be winning it if they get Reed and Curtin because they
Yeah,
get the
that's
best player in the
huge.
draft and they get the best WA guy in the draft.
Yeah.
And then in the future, if Curtin develops into a mid, you've got Reed, Hewitt, Jinby,
Jinby.
and Curtin.
And you've got the next
that's
best small
stacked.
forward in the league. Arguably, Lance Collard
Yeah,
could be something
very
special in
Yeah.
the next 5 years. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Fremantle, you've picked
A small forward.
small forward, but he's also a midfield. He could move into that. But Fremantle arguably trying to get him to replace Lockie Schultz and Liam Henry, both out the door. Yes, we have small forwards, but he's going to be a nice project player for Fremantle over the next couple years,
Yeah.
3 years. He'll be playing some pretty good footy at Peel. Who else does Fremantle need to target with their later picks? Fremantle have been linked to moving up the draft with their later picks, bundling them up and getting pick 38. Apparently, that's what
From
you
the Suns, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty sure a deal has been agreed to in principle, but not.
in word, but not
yeah.
It's
done.
gonna probably
It'll happen
draft
over the
day, it'll
next
pan out something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
happen
so
over
it's,
the next couple days.
it's a bunch of third rounders for pick 38, and that just gives Freo another pick inside the 30 to 40 range, and that's where there's a lot of WA guys. So you got Sanchez, O'Driscoll,
O'Driscoll.
Clay
I'd
Mitch
be-
Edwards.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy if Fremantle, if I'm to say Fremantle, get 3 to 4 players in this draft, which I think, or 3 to 4 players in this off season, including Jeremy Sharp, which is pretty much confirmed. Jeremy Sharp and maybe 3 other draftees. So maybe you've got Aiden
Yeah,
O'Driscoll.
that'll
I'd
be
be
a
happy.
full
They'll
list.
need a wingman because
Aiden
they lost
O'Driscoll.
Henry as well, and then lost Akers the previous year, so they really need to stock up on that wing depth.
Yeah, pretty much. So basically, complete the trio, get the O'Driscolls together. That would be a fairy tale, the trilogy. You
So
got Colin Sanchez, and who else? Do you think they need to go told? They've been linked to the Werribee forward,
Sean Manor?
Sean
Manor.
Manor, who's a really nice, depth player.
Yeah, he kicked 6 goals and 28 touches in the VFL Grand Final, so
Yeah,
could have
he's a
been best of
monster.
the honours if Werribee actually won.
And there's a link there with Michael Barlow coaching Werribee.
Yeah, and
who's
he's now a North development coach, so he could be a sort of in North's board.
Too sweet.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the questions you guys sent in, and thank you so much for these questions. We're going to get through them pretty quickly because we don't want to make this podcast too long. It's time for questions and answers.
Mate, you sent the bloody questions in, so we're going to bloody answer them. That's how it works here. You're listening to Q&A here on Flagmantle Podcast.
Yes, I'll start from the very bottom. Basically, you guys can answer this because you guys are, the draftees.
Did you forget to screenshot the
Old
questions
ones.
after going to Coldplay instead?
Yes, I did.
Had one job, mate.
Sorry,
Oh,
but
one
we did a good
bloody
job retrieving them. Lenny Johnson, 09. Who are the some of the prospects for looking at? We've just
That's
gone
for you,
through them.
Chris.
Yeah, so I think from a WA perspective, you'll be Colin Sanchez, Aiden O'Driscoll, maybe Clay Hall as sort of like another midfielder, but could push on a wing. Outside of WA, Jack Delaney as another small forward. Sean Manor as like a mutual ager, and then I think that's sort of like
And if Mitch Edwards does slide past pick 40, we'll try and match that
probably.
because
I think
he's
would
worth the
they?
match. He's worth the match. I think he's worth the match.
I think
you can't
even though
miss
they
up a
got
player.
Reedy and Noble, I don't know if they're ready to play AFL the next year.
I don't-
Or so.
I don't think Noble is gonna.
Is a project.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a great question. Cross.06. More of a statement. Freo should use some future picks to acquire Dan Curtin if he slides.
West Coast are
He's pretty adamant.
beating us
but-
to it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
but
think
West Coast is going to get
With
that.
Freo having Port Adelaide and Collingwood's pick, they'll probably be in the tens compared to West Coast.
Probably.
We'll be good
pick
for next year's
top
draft.
three.
And let's not forget, guys, next year's draft is stacked, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently, 2025.
with mids, but not
With mids.
Oh,
WA
2024.
guys.
My bad. With
The-
mids, which would be great. Talented. Not too many WA guys, you say?
No, not.
Like I think with WA, there's not that many actual in the top end as expected. I think with their national academy, only 2 players were invited.
Wow.
So Bo Allen and Malachi Champion compared to
Champion. Remember the
Oh,
name.
Malachi
Malachi.
Champion's going to be a player, though.
Remember the name, guys. Remember
Great
the name. Bodie _Derek 111. Oh, what do we got here? Could there be a chance that Freo trade into the first round on draft day to get Collard? Well, first round, Lance Collard been linked to.
I wouldn't be surprised if we targeted one of those North later picks that end up at 22, 23. If we went, all right, here's Collingwood's first next year, and we really liked Collard.
We can get like a pick 20 or something.
Well, then hypothetically, the swap wouldn't be Schultz for a future first. It'd be Schultz for Collard. So I think if there's going to be a way to do it, that would be the way.
Nice. Good question, Bodie. Kobe.Rao, you think West Coast will trade their future first pick to secure Dan Curtin?
Yeah, big time.
A
If
big
he slides,
Eagles fan. Nice, thank you.
If the Hawks don't take him, then that's a real possibility.
Yeah, because the Dogs won't take him.
No.
Unless, well, yeah, no, Dogs not interested.
They're not tall,
surprising.
they
It'd be
won't go
very
taller.
surprising. There'd be pretty much everyone over 6'5". Lil_K90 traded 2024 first rounder to get back into this year's draft of Curtin.
Seems to be the theme here.
Everyone loves Curtin, and arguably so. He's a Fremantle supporter. He's WA. He's a generational talent. He's described his game to.
I wouldn't go
Pav.
that.
You'd say he's generational talent.
I think Harley Reid's a generational
He's
talent.
like the next Pav. People have been linking him to Pav.
Oof.
That's generational, baby. Generational, baby, in my opinion. Mackley_Sam. Opinions
No wonder
on
he doesn't
Cooper.
want to come onto this podcast. Man. Come
No,
on.
he's a very busy man. Thank you very much. Thank you. And
Yeah, he's
wanted to
busy
say-
avoiding us. Next question.
Ouch. Mackley_Sam. You know this is your podcast too. Opinion on Cooper Simpson.
Yeah, I think
Chris.
just an underrated prospect. I think not talked about as much. So I think should any teams looking for midfield depth, I think he can fill that spot.
Young players next year. Damo_Nicole 920.
So he's asking for
Young
2024.
It says young players next
yeah,
year.
yeah, next draft.
Okay, so I think I've mentioned Bo Allen. He's Peel Thunder, sort of third tall. I think later in the season he pushed up. I think playing a bit forward, back, forward and midfield for some versatility. Malachi Champion, small forward from Subi, West Coast Next Generation Academy member, but like he's very explosive. Cal Guerin, he's a tall from West Perth, Wesley boy. So I think probably in my opinion he's my number one.
Okay, number one. If
Yeah,
someone,
he's my number one WA player.
I think you'd think Fremantle will be focusing on draft trading, trading more. So getting these mature ages. The laughing_man_92. How many of our draft picks will we actually use? And this is a good one for all of us. I personally think 4.
We're going to be
3 or
using
4,
3
maybe. Yeah.
because of Oscar McDonald, Jeremy Sharp, and then elevated Tracy and Banfield.
So there's not much.
Well,
this
Technically,
space.
this year we've taken. Obviously, we're going to take those 2. We're going to get Jeremy Sharp and
Oscar.
Oscar. So that's 2 there, and I think 3 draftees. They'll complete the
'Cause we didn't
5.
bring anybody in from the trade period itself. So
No.
100%. Cross.06. Would Jack Cocking be a good addition for a rookie list spot?
Oh, as a Freo boy.
No bias here. No bias here.
He's a very good forward. I like him. I think.
What's his weakness? What's got him like?
whoa! What's his
Whoa.
strength?
What's his strength and what's his weakness?
Okay.
Because some people have been highly rating him, some people haven't.
His main 2 strength is his accuracy because he kicked 49 goals, 19. So very
Big
accurate.
giant miss. We're missing out on here, guys.
And also he's a very good contested marker.
Nice.
I
This
think
is what Fremantle need. Fremantle. Knock. You thought it was a door.
as
Sorry.
a weakness, probably his size because at the club he played as our prime key forward, but he's only 189 centimeters. So if he makes AFL, he'll probably just be like a third,
Bailey Fritsch type operator.
something like that. He could be. Sort
Nice.
of moves up the ground maybe. So
Yeah. Okay.
I read that. AFL Amusement. Should Freo draft David Mundy? Yes.
Yeah. Future star, that kid.
And last question, Nut Jazzy. What do you know and think about Xavier Walsh? Have you heard of Xavier
yeah,
Walsh?
is an East Perth key forward, very athletic. I think he got a national combine invite, so there is club interest. Where
But-
he goes, probably all just depends on how
What's
many
his-
pigs.
What's the
are
sort of range, do you think?
For me, I put him probably about the 40s to 60s, so late.
Back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very late. That pretty much wraps it up, mate. Thank you so much,
It's been
Chris.
good.
It's been good. Thank
Long
you for
time
listening to
between
this
drinks.
episode. For those who are, draft
Nuffies.
nuffies, this will be your best dream.
Footy sickos.
But for those who don't, you probably never made it this far. Chris, it's been a pleasure. We'll be inviting you back. We'll do probably a post-draft
Something like that, yeah.
examination.
If you want to come back.
If you want to
I'm
come
happy
back.
Come back. Nice studio you got in here from.
Oh, it's not
the
too
old-
bad. Can't
That's not
say
too
who.
bad.
An Aussie pub.
Can't say who. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
Aussie.
It's a bit of an upgrade.
Aussie station. Okay. Been a pleasure, mate. We'll see each other when Fremantle got some pretty good talent through the door, pretty much.
Hope so.
Hope so. See you later.
Bye.